好的，
好，大家好，今天我们口吃说请到来自美国的Allen Allen，你能给我们做一个自我介绍吗？
好，大家好，我的名字是陈艾伦，我现在是21岁，我在 UCLA 上大学，我是4年，I'm not sure if that's how you say senior in Chinese。我的专业是 neuroscience。我喜欢打网球，对从6岁5岁我有结巴。
好，艾伦，你是出生在美国是吧？
对，我出生在 Louisiana。
哦，OK，路易安那州那你去过中国吗？
我去过了几次，中文是我第一个学的language。忘记了怎么 say。对。
好，那个艾伦，你刚才说你是从五六岁5、6岁开始口吃的是吧？
对。
那你家里面有其他人口吃吗？
对，sorry, I've never actually heard that word before. I'm assuming it's another way of saying stuttering. So is jieba not the usual way to say it?
Yeah, actually, if you say "jeba" in Chinese, there is more like a negative meaning
Oh, okay.
in it. But if you say "口吃", it's more like the scientific term.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had no idea. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So since was switching the language from Chinese to English, do you want to continue the conversation in Chinese or English?
Yeah, I guess we can just start from English now.
Sure. Yeah.
Easy.
Yes, good. So you were saying you started stuttering when you were 5 or 6 years old, right? So I was asking, is there anyone else in your family who stutters?
Right. So apparently both my biological father and my maternal grandfather stutter, but both of them seem to have grown out of it. So, and they did so in their adulthood actually. So it wasn't like when they were kids, they just grew out of it. But yeah.
So when you were a kid and when you showed the symptoms of stuttering, so how your parents react to your stuttering when you were a kid?
Right. So I didn't grow up with my biological father who stuttered, and my mom and my stepdad. So my mom didn't even know that her dad had a stutter. And I actually just found this out recently, okay, so when I first attended when I first attended NSA meetings, I told my grandparents, because I was just leaving the house one day and my grandparents asked me, hey, where are you going? And I said, 我去跟别的口吃的人 except I said jeba since I didn't know the correct term for it. But 对，我去跟别的jeba的人聊天 and then they said, what? Why would you do that? Because yeah, and they actually got really mad at me. And then so yeah, and then we talked about it later. And so at that point, my grandpa still didn't mention anything about himself having a stutter. But then it was just a few months after that when I decided to ask, since like I do notice that sometimes when he talks, like there's like some slight thing, but like I'm not even sure that he notices it, because he, like when I ask him about it, like he's like, oh yeah, I used to, but then when I started working and I had to just keep up in a fast-paced work environment, I just grew out of it. And it was funny because my grandma was like, wait, no you didn't, like you still do it sometimes, and he was like, no I don't. So yeah, I mean I don't even know what's going on there. But then when I told my mom about it, she was like, what? No, he doesn't have a stutter. So yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. I really think because your grandparents, they're Chinese too, right? So I do think for the Chinese people, they don't understand if you are a person who stutters, like why you want to meet with other people who stutter. Because you may encourage each other's stuttering and make it worse, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I know that right now in college you are a senior, so and you major in neuroscience. So I'm wondering, why did you choose this major? Does this have something to do with your stuttering? You want to find out what's going on in the brain?
Yeah, that was definitely one motivation for it. Although I still haven't really read that much actual scientific research on it. Well, I just basically got a brief overview of what the research is about, since most of it is just finding the genes that correlate to stuttering. But then like, see, because since I always thought that, okay, sure, maybe there's some genes that correlate to it, but there definitely is a big psychological component to it also, since like I noticed that like when I felt like I was hiding it, that just made it so much worse. And when I felt relaxed and I felt like I can be open, then I felt like I hardly stuttered at all. So yeah, so but I did want to just know in general about how the brain worked, and also I had a really hard time trying to decide what I wanted to major in. And so it's I feel like it sounds kind of silly actually, but like I thought, okay, like if I could just think in a better way, like if I can figure out, okay, like how can I optimize my thinking, speaking, like just my overall brain performance, then at the very least in the future when I have to make important decisions, it can not be as hard. So like I just saw neuroscience as this fundamental thing where if I can understand as much as I can about how the brain works, then it just makes all aspects of life easier.
Yeah, that's so true. So when you were mentioning you did go to the meetings at Nsa, so tell us something about your experience of meeting other people who stutter.
Okay, so I hear for a lot of people the at the NSA is where they met the first people that stuttered that they've ever met in their life. But for me, I've had a few other encounters. I think so. Growing up, I actually had so it's a very weird thing. I've actually had multiple friends tell me that like they felt like they started to stutter more from just talking with me, and like I could actually sort of tell, since like I mean it like they weren't really blocking, but at the same time they kind of were, because I could tell that there were actually times where it like looked like they were sort of having a hard time trying to get words out. So before I was sort of wondering if like they had a stutter before, but like they're just hiding, and then like and then interacting with me sort of triggered that almost. So I wasn't really sure, and yeah, so like that's what sort of blurred the lines for me in the first place, like why just the entire time growing up I just had the intuition that it can't be as simple as just, okay, well if you have some certain genes you will have a stutter, and you can't, like there's just nothing you can do about it. So yeah, but then I also like I remember at a certain encounter at the mall, I was shopping for clothes with my friends, and the employee that was helping us had a stutter also, and so afterwards, like we just both didn't say anything, and like I felt kind of weird because like, so with my friend I was about 15-16 years old at the time, and I didn't talk about stuttering at all with my friends. Like I just pretended like it didn't exist. And then so I wasn't sure if I should like say something, and then my friend was just like, wow, he had a pretty severe stutter. And then I was just like, yeah, I know, right? And then yeah, I mean, then just there was no conversation about it after that. So yeah, I mean, that was the first time I met someone that like I would say for sure, okay, yeah, he's like me, he actually has a stutter. So then fast forward to the NSA. My first NSA meeting was actually in my second year of college, so it was in Los Angeles, and I remember like when I first heard the people there talk, like I felt like I was about to have a heart attack. Like I don't know why, but yeah, it made me feel so anxious. But then afterwards, I got more and more comfortable. So yeah.
Well, maybe grandma and grandpa are right. Why did you go there? You may have a heart attack, right?
Yeah. I could have died.
Exactly. So I do think, you know, like for me, I had the same experience, because I grew up trying to hide my stutter, and when I do meet some people who stutter, I said chapter, I was feeling like so ashamed when they are talking. So it feels like, you know, it's like it's so uncomfortable in the beginning. Right. Yeah. So let's come back to when you were saying so you are very aware that when you were a teenager, like you do have a stutter, and I'm wondering, at school, did you get any help or speech therapy?
So when I was in elementary school, my parents tried to sign me up for the speech program. And I was super resistant to that. And because like I just see, I can't remember if I actually thought that I didn't need it and that I didn't have a speaking issue, or like I just told myself that because like I couldn't face the shame. But like I remember their evaluation for me, they gave me a survey. So I was maybe about 9-10 years old at the time, and the survey was just asking things like how much does your speech impediment affect your life, like things like that. And for each one I would just put nope, it doesn't affect my life at all. Like I think I even remember asking like, wait, why is there no option for just not having a speech impediment?
You are such a typical Asian kid who just want to ask every test. You just want to get A plus, right?
Yeah. And I remember my parents being super mad when they found out that I did that. And they just took me to outside speech therapy anyway.
So do you think the speech therapy you got helped you? If so, in what ways?
I don't think it helped me at all, but I think if I actually followed what they said outside of the program, I think I would have had good benefits from that. I mean, I think because just like from the moment they told me, okay, what you need to do is be open about stuttering, just be comfortable with telling other people that you have a stutter, then you'll feel a lot better about yourself. But the moment I heard that, like I just thought, nope, I mean, that's just not happening. So I do wish that I did that, since I've started doing it now, like I just feel like it's removed so many barriers. So yeah. But then in terms of speech techniques, like things like easy onset, because in speech therapy, I was already pretty fluent talking with the therapists. Like I think it was hard for them to get an accurate gauge on exactly what things I was having issues with. So yeah, mechanically, I don't think it really helped me.
Yeah. So for me, when I first met the stutterers here in the States, so because I grew up in China, we don't at least me, I didn't get help or therapy. So when I met the stutterers here in the States, and they start to talk about the therapists, the therapies they received since they were kids. So I was kind of like, to me, it's a shock, because I was like very disappointed in a way, because I saw those people that are all adults now, and they were saying, oh, I received speech therapy since I was 5 years old. And to me, seeing them like being adults, but they still stutter, I was kind of like thinking, oh, well, I wish I was born in this country, because I always thinking if I did receive the therapy, maybe I will not stutter right now. That, like when they were telling me, oh, the speech therapy does not help that much, I was kind of like thinking, well, that does not make sense to me. So, but what you were saying, I really think it's because like when you were in a speech room, it's more like in a controlled environment.
Right.
So you don't feel that you're being judged, and the people is very supportive. And then you can get your words fluently. You don't even stutter. But when you really need it in real life, it's like the therapy that does not help. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, Allen, I'm wondering. So, since like you are experiencing your stutter seems like in two different cultures, even though you live in America, but your family environment is still more like the Chinese culture, right? So do you think like do they treat your stuttering differently, or do you experience your stuttering differently in two settings?
Yeah, so just I'd say multiple times a year since I was a kid, my grandma would randomly just say, so when we're just having a conversation, like she might just randomly say, hey, you know what, you don't even have a stuttering problem. And so she would say this multiple times a year since I was a kid. And then like each time I would just say, yeah, I mean, whatever. But then like there's times when because we might have a thing like she'll be asking me like, hey, like why aren't you happier right now? And I'll say, oh, because like I feel like my stuttering is really holding me back. And then she would just say, but like you don't even have this problem. And I would say, no, I mean I do outside of when I'm talking with you. And then like it's like that idea, just like she can't understand that, because like she'll just keep saying no, but I don't hear it. I'm just like, yeah, no, that's the whole point. I have an okay time talking with you, but then outside of this situation, like when I'm talking at school, it's harder for me. And then right, so.
Yeah, and when she was saying that, oh, Allen, you don't have a stutter, she feels happy. When you were a kid, when you hear that, you were thinking, oh, grandma thinks that if I don't stutter, I don't have a problem. I'm happier. I'm supposed to be happier. So that may make you think, oh, if I do stutter, that's something bad, right?
Yeah, definitely. Although, okay, now I'm thinking back to when I was a kid. Also, I guess she started saying it when my parents started taking me to speech therapy. So at that point, like I had already saw my stuttering as something bad. So I mean, I would just basically like ignore her when she said it, because I would just think, well, like she just doesn't know what she's talking about anyway. So yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think, like when you were at home? Yes. So the message was more like, oh, you don't have a problem when you don't stutter. So how about like at school? So do you think like you were treated differently because of your stuttering, or when you were saying you think stuttering it is holding you back? So can you share more about that?
Sure. Oh yeah. Just one more bit about the home environment. Like I remember my parents would actually, they would record me talking, and they would be like, okay, like you have to be fluent this whole time, or you can't play video games after. So
oh my god.
Yeah, like that was just like so much like I felt like real hate for my for them when like they did that. Like I was like, oh, like I just like was so mad. Yeah, so that's it for the home environment, I guess. And then for your question about school, which, by the way, like now, I mean, I don't blame my parents or anything, since like I do believe that they just thought that they were doing what they could help me. So, but then at school, yeah, I mean, I felt like I was kind of successful in hiding it, like throughout grade school. But that came at the cost of just me not talking in certain situations. So I felt just, so to say if I was treated differently, well, yeah, I mean, I was treated differently, since I would just be treated the same as another kid who didn't talk much, I guess. So, but then when I said that I felt like I was being held back, that feeling felt a lot more evident in college, where there were a lot of times in, say, class discussions where like we were talking about something that I was actually interested in, and I just wouldn't say anything since I felt too embarrassed. And then what that actually did was, okay, so I realized that was happening. So then I told myself, oh, like I just don't like this feeling of not saying what I want to say. So then I'm gonna make it so I just won't even have anything to say in the first place. Like I just like wouldn't do the readings before class, because like I knew that I wasn't gonna participate anyway. So what's the point? So yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely felt like, for me, I really think stuttering does hold me back for many years, but at the same time, I really think for me, it's more like I couldn't accept my stuttering. It's that sense of shame. That's really, it's not stuttering, it's holding me back. It's more like the shame of having a stutter. It is holding me back. So, and I'm very curious, and what made Allen break out of his shell, because I got to know Allen through Stutter Social. It's like an online platform for the people who stutter to connect. So I'm wondering, like, how did you make those moves, like to trying to step out of your stuttering and try to connect to people, and do not hide your stuttering, or don't hide yourself anymore?
Okay. So I feel like I didn't, okay, so definitely one step was attending these support meetings with other people who stutter, like NSA meetings and Stutter social meetings. But I felt like even in those meetings, I was still holding back, in the sense that like I was still not really talking a lot of times when I felt like I had things to say. And I realized that like I would just like I had this fear that I would waste people's time when I spoke, and that's not even specifically stuttering, but that because I think at the root of it is just like me saying things that don't make sense, and then when I stutter while saying things that don't make sense, like that just makes it take way longer. So yeah, that was a thing that's, so I still kind of like I wouldn't say I'm completely over that even now, but definitely. So a way that I made progress a lot during quarantine, like I think I definitely made the most progress I made in and any department, like throughout my entire life in these past few months. Just well, one, just like not taking myself too seriously, and with that comes, of course, not taking the stuttering too seriously.
Love that.
And so I sort of thought about, so I noticed this thing, like I was just on YouTube one day, and I was watching these videos of like people just doing embarrassing things in public, and like these videos would get millions of views, and I was just thinking like, wow, so it seems that people love seeing other people do embarrassing things, but they don't want to do it themselves, which I mean, of course we can think of an obvious reason why people don't want to do embarrassing things themselves, which is that, well, they'll feel embarrassed. But then I just thought, well, like you don't have to feel embarrassed when you do things that people would find embarrassing if they did. So like the way I reasoned it out, I guess, was just that, like, because before, like, I had this idea that like that stuttering was like in some sense objectively bad, because like regardless if I felt embarrassed while stuttering, because even if I completely got over the shame, I would still think it's bad, because it just it hinders communication, so it affects the other person. So like I literally felt some like moral obligation to not to either not stutter or just not talk in the first place. But then when I thought about putting myself in these embarrassing situations, so since, okay, if I can be okay with say, like if I would enjoy seeing someone else walk into the street of, say, like Times Square in New York and just say, hi everybody, I have a stutter, and like say that causes some public disruption or whatever. So if I'd be interested in watching someone else do that, then like I have no reason to not be okay with doing that myself, since like that same external effect is happening. Yeah. So then once, I'm not sure if that made sense, but to me that was like gold almost, since I just thought, wait, like that gives me permission to just act however I want to act, basically. Well, assuming like I wouldn't look down on someone else for doing that. So then, what that made me start practicing was just I would join these online video chatting sites where I could just talk to strangers online.
That was what I was about to ask. You did something very crazy to me in the beginning, you know, when you were telling me the idea to just go to a website and to talk to the strangers. It's crazy. And can you tell us about that? Yes.
Yeah, so I started out with just like I was trying to have normal conversations, but I still felt like I was holding back. Still, like I was still trying to not stutter, basically. So then I told myself, okay, like to just completely get over any idea of just trying to not stutter. Like you're just gonna for like 100 times, you're just gonna, for each person you talk to, just go, but like the entire time and until they disconnect. So
That's crazy.
I just made myself do that.
Mm-hmm.
And for hundreds of people, like I just did simple things like, hey, can I share something with you? And they would be like, what? And I'd just be like, I have a stutter. And then I would try variations of that. Okay, and I'm not sure if this will make sense, but like one of the things I did to just make it like, cause so before, to tell someone that I had a stutter, like it carried a lot of emotional weight, right? But then by doing it over and over, but then along with combining it with things that like just made no sense. Like, so I would say things like, okay, so with one person I would say, hey, I have a stutter. And then the next person I see, I would say, hey, I have a butter. And then I would say, hey, I have a brother. And it was just like, so it's like it just made the whole thing just like just it made into this silly thing, I guess, for me, where it's like, wait, it literally doesn't matter what I say.
That's so cool. It's like it's kind of like take that fear away. It's like before, when you talk to people, you think of one thing: do I stutter or do I not to stutter?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Like when you were doing this practice and you notice that, oh, I can actually choose what to say or how to say it.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, because I mean, before, like when I first heard about the idea of disclosures, I was like, okay, so I want to do that, but now I'm getting all sorts of anxiety about, okay, well, when should I disclose? Like, so before this, like last year, actually, around this time, I attended a lot of Toastmasters meetings, but I actually felt like that didn't really help me at all, because I still, and like I gave a whole bunch of speeches actually, because I wanted that to be like my main accomplishment that summer. So I sent a lot of I would send emails out to multiple clubs, like just as many clubs that I could find around the Houston area, like just asking if I could be a guest speaker at their club. So like that's how I sort of maximize like my speaking time, I guess. But I found that at each one, like I still try to give off a certain appearance. Like I still wanted to appear like professional or whatever. So like that, I feel like that still held me back. And so since just by trying to appear professional, like I subconsciously told myself that it's not okay to stutter. So
yeah, I did go Toastmasters a couple of times myself. I do think in a way it did help me to deal with the fear of talking, but to deal with the fear of stuttering, it's a different thing. I really think like for me, I really think because for so many years, I was thinking, I am afraid of talking. But then I really think when I go to those public speaking places, and I have noticed that, no, I'm not actually afraid of talking. Yeah. I'm actually afraid of stuttering.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you share something with us, like how do you deal with your fear of stuttering, and what, like, it's like, what do you do, or can you share something?
Well, okay, so recently, since like I feel like the entire way that I communicate has just changed a lot in these past few months. And one of the things that I realized, at least for myself, since I found that, well, okay, what I'm really afraid of is getting stuck. But then I noticed, wait, but when I get stuck, like, I don't have to push through, because that's the thing that keeps me stuck. So the moment that I'm aware that I'm blocking, well, I can just stop. I now literally have the idea that the struggle itself is a choice, because, well, I mean, like, you can't struggle if you don't try to push through. And so the moment that you're aware, well, you can't just stop pushing through. And so that made it way easier to just go into all sorts of speaking situations. Because I was just like, well, I mean, yeah, I really don't have anything to be afraid of. But I mean, yeah, like, I'm not sure if I completely internalize that yet, because there are some times where it's like, okay, so I do that, but then when I release the block, when I just stop pushing through, I'll try to say that sound again, and then sometimes the second time I say it, I still have an issue. And so I'm still not in the habit of also just, okay, well, don't push through that time either. So that's still something that I'm trying to build a habit off of.
That's such a great point. I really think, for the people who stutter, like, we kind of like trying to apply the wisdom we have learned through life. That's, if you work hard,
yes.
If you work hard, you will have a better results. If you study hard, you will have a better grades. It's like this, almost like it's a mindset. And we acquire this mindset and reinforce it through life, like through the small things. So, and then when it comes to stuttering, when you were talking about, when we got stuck, our number one reaction is actually to push through, but actually that's the struggle. And then you were saying, once I was aware that this is not the way, you are not supposed to push through, you actually, you are aware of that block, and then you just actually let it go.
Yeah.
So that's very profound, because it actually goes against all the things we have learned through life. It's not like trying to work harder, but like you work harder not to work hard.
Yeah. No, it was so profound for me. I mean,
very profound.
When I realized that, since, like, for me, the entire thing about, like, I entirely associate the struggle with stuttering. So when I realized that, wait, I don't have to struggle, so that means I don't have to stutter. So it's like, literally, I don't have to stutter. And I was like, wait, that's so wait a minute. Yeah. So I mean, I was so excited when I, like, first had that realization. And I mean, now, like, I realize that, okay, well, I still have to make it a habit, since it's not a habit yet, and I'm not aware each time I block, since a lot of times, like, they're just happening for short in instances in time. So it's like, and so since I was so excited about this, like I was actually trying to just reach as many stutters as I could to tell about it. So there's this app called Discord where there's a community of people who stutter on the app. Like there's
really?
Yeah.
What's that called again?
It's called Discord.
Discord.
Yeah, it's the app is used it started out as an app that gamers would use to talk to each other when playing games, but now it's just like a social platform. Have you heard of Slack?
I don't think so.
Okay, yeah, it's
well, I'm just too old, so
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just it's like Facebook, I guess, except it's it's anonymous. Like you don't have to put a profile picture. Like it's not really about profiles. Like people don't post pictures of themselves, so it's just like more conversation based.
It's called Slack.
Both, I guess, but
okay.
Slack is an application commonly used for like I think it's used in the corporate world a lot.
Oh, okay, I see.
Like to manage projects and things like that.
So when you were on Discord, what do you do?
Right. So I was actually so there's a group of people that stutter. There's a few hundred people in the group actually, and
oh wow.
I was just privately messaging people like, hey, like do you want to chat, so I could like tell them about this realization I had.
Yeah.
And I even recorded a video of like, because the way that I practiced this was just like since I went back to the app, the video chatting platform that I could just talk to strangers on, and like the moment, so since on this app I just gave myself extra permission to really apply that the releasing blocks. It's like in real life, like I feel kind of bad for doing this. Like say, I mean, if I'm in a lab meeting, like I wouldn't want to just say like, oh yeah, and I was just gonna do that. So like I would feel more uncomfortable in real life, just like doing the block release like in an infinite amount of times. But then on the video chatting app, like I told myself, okay, the moment you feel like you're about to struggle on a word, just completely, like just really make sure you're not struggling at all when you're talking. So like the moment you feel the struggle, like you can just stop talking basically, or like stop trying to get the word out. So just as many times as it takes, if you have to repeat the sound over and over and over and over until you can say it without struggling at all, then do that. So like I made a video of like, well, and like I was trying to encourage people to just use the app in general, since like I thought, wait, like this tool is so amazing, because at the very least, if you're not that comfortable just talking to people yet, okay, well, to preserve your identity, you can just put like a thing over your camera so people can see you, and to just get completely comfortable with interacting with people. I mean, just like you can start so basic, like just saying the alphabet or something, or saying happy birthday, like to just get that, because I get the sense that for a lot of people that stutter, like we will sort of sometimes like we might go through phases in our life where like we just don't want to have social interactions at all, because like we feel so down on ourselves. But so like I just thought that this could be like such a good way to like just get some sort of interaction. And like so I made a video with like progression steps of like, okay, so like you can start with the blindfold on your camera, you can and then like just sing happy birthday, and then you can move on with like just saying hi with like each person you see, and then you can say hi, how are you, hi, how are you, hi, how are you, and then like hi, how are you, my name is X. I mean, like you can make up a fake name if you want. Yeah, so like there's just an infinite amount of progression steps, as I thought, and like say, and at some point you can get to a point where you can be completely comfortable saying, hi, my name is Allen, I have a stutter, how what about you, is there anything that you wanted to share with me? And yeah, I mean, just things like that, and like you can build off and have a conversation. I just think it's like a great way to be comfortable with really connecting with other people.
That is so cool, because I do think this COVID-19 thing to me in general, I think because I do not see many people in general, I am feeling that my speech is actually much worse than before. But who would know, like Allen, he is making full use of this quarantine and the technology, and to make such a great progress and a huge epiphany. I really think when you were saying that when you are in a block, instead of pushing, you actually need to release that tension. That single awareness at that moment, it's just so cool. And when you realize that, and you do not just like sit on that idea, you actually apply that in your real life, in your communication, you practice that. And I really like, it's like for me to hear you saying this, it's almost like you found this inner power. Yeah, so it's more like, I really think like being a person who stutters, in most of the cases when we were in a conversation or when we were in a social settings, we almost feel that we got to put on a performance, and we think people have this expectation that I am a normal person, a fluent person. So
Yeah.
but when you were saying like your technique, your strategy, it's more like you are aware of what's going on with you. Like by practice more and more, you feel like more comfortable in your own body, like in your own mouth. I really think, yeah, so it's like you change this thing from an external communicational judgment to more like an inner experience, and you feel like, oh, I have a choice in this. That's very powerful.
Yeah, and like I just want to say that like I was actually very skeptical that practicing this would even pay off. So I thought, okay, because there in my life there are situations that I care about, like say on this podcast, like I do feel like I have some sort of obligation to communicate to the best of my ability, and then there's situations that I don't care about, say like on these video calls with just random people on the internet. So like I thought, well, I mean, no matter how comfortable I get with talking with strangers, well, what if it doesn't transfer at all to situations where I actually need to communicate? But then like I found, wait, it actually does. And I mean, I still don't know why it does. Like I think just in general, it's just, it has to do with just not taking myself too seriously.
That's such a great point. That's a very, very great point. I really think like for me, I really think because like I had this stutter, so since I was a small kid, I know that there's something wrong with me in a way. It's like I feel that because like I'm not a normal person in a way, so I almost feel like I'm inferior than the people because of my stuttering. But when you were saying, yes, for me, I really think because of this thinking, I have very like low self-esteem. That actually prevents me from, you know, like make fun of myself or not to take myself seriously. It's like, no, I need to take myself seriously because of my stutter.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I need to like overcompensate for the low esteem that I have.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really think it really maybe takes a lot of confidence or it takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable, like to be not to be taken so seriously.
Yeah. So, and you bring up an interesting point, because like with the whole confidence thing, that's like a thing that I've thought about a lot, and with courage also, because like when I was talking to people about this, like they would say, wow, you sound so brave, and but then I'd be thinking, no, like I'm literally not brave at all. Like I just don't care. So like it's like I feel like the not caring is a completely different thing than confidence or courage or whatever. Like it's just but of course, like I would say that confidence plays a role, but I don't know what role it plays. I don't know its relationship to not caring. So that is something that, I mean, I've thought about it a lot, and I still haven't really, like, it's not clear in my head, because it's especially for things like, say, if someone's going into an interview for a job that they really want to get, well, they can't just not care. Except that, like, I think there's a difference between caring in the moment and then caring about the thing in general. So like I think that's one thing that I made sense of, and one thing that can really hold us back is if in like each moment that we're talking, like we're still like we're caring about the outcome in that moment. Like I think in that moment you just have to be present in the moment, and just not thinking about, oh, what'll happen. Yeah.
That's a very good point. I really think, you know, when you make this mind shift, so before this, when you encounter a speaking situation, or you were just think, oh, I had to speak again, and now since you had this change of mindset, I do think that for you it's more like a game now. It's like if you meet a new people, that's your opportunity of become like even more courageous. It's like the situations did not change. You still like talk to people, but to you it's more like, oh, it's a good challenge, I can grow from this.
I definitely agree with you, since one of the things I was doing was like, okay, I'm gonna try to be embarrassed. Like, okay, what can I possibly say that can make myself feel embarrassed? And I found that when I had that attitude. Like I just wouldn't be embarrassed at all.
That's
like
so crazy.
There's just nothing I can do that would make you feel embarrassed. Like, I mean, I could talk with people and like say, like, so when just chatting in the video calls, I can be like, hey, can I share something really personal with you? And it's like, yeah, so I've had a stutter all my life. Like I feel so ashamed of it. I'm actually on here right now to practice with you so I can get over the shame. And I just hope that we can really connect and like, and it's like, I would, yeah. So with what you said about being vulnerable, since like, it seems that a lot of people like feel embarrassment about what's really inside. But then I found, okay, well, if I seek that embarrassment out, I just won't find it.
I love that. I love that. It's almost like before you're trying to avoid the embarrassment, and you think, oh, my stuttering, my prior experience of stuttering is connected with my embarrassment. But now I'm looking for situations to embarrass myself. It feels like you are inviting the stuttering in your life.
Yeah.
It feels like you have the choice now. It's not like the stuttering it is choosing you, but it's you choose stuttering. Wow,
yeah.
That's fabulous. That's just very profound. I do think, like, for me, like, sometimes I think my entire life I was feeling that if I'm driving a car, it's almost like my stuttering, it's the driver. I'm just on the passenger seat. It's like the stuttering defines where we go, where do we stop. You know, it's like the stuttering, it's like it dictates my life, my day. So I really think, you know, like when you change your mentality, weights, maybe, you know, I cannot get rid of my stuttering right now, but at least stuttering can go to the passenger seat. Like I can come to the driver's seat and take control.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just I really think sometimes stuttering is just so mysterious. It's like it can teach us like so many things when we stop running and start to look at it.
Yeah. Like I remember a few months back in one of the NSA virtual sessions. I think they called it the virtual lounge. Like I was the people in the group that I was in, like we were talking about would we take a stuttering pill, like to remove it, and like we were talking about, okay, like what side effects would we trade off for it. Like say if we had to lose like 6 inches off our height or something, like would we the stuttering pill. And so then so this was in my journey, I guess, like through just trying to expand my comfort zone, like first, well, this current quarantine journey, at least, like I this was when I like first started doing the random online interactions with people. And even then, like I just felt so excited, and like I started to view stuttering as like just like a fun thing to I'm not even sure if overcome is the right word, but like a fun thing to just play around with. And so like I actually had the idea that I would not even take the pill if it was free, like if it just had no side effects at all, like because like I just want this thing to play around with, I guess.
Well, if you do have that pill, if you don't take it, just give it to me. I will take it. I'm just joking. Yeah. I do think, yeah. So when you started to really see the lights from the tunnel, you kind of like put all those things into perspective.
Oh, right. Yeah. I like how you put that. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Oh, and I didn't mean to cut you off there. I just, because that's the phrase I was trying to find when I was talking. So, but yeah, if you had something you wanted to say, feel free to.
Yeah. So and I like how you do all those like online encounters. I really think because like you have a purpose to do this communication. Like when you go to the chat with people online, and you know that, oh, today I'm going to talk to 10 people. That's, I'm going to say, oh, I have a stutter, I have butter, I have it's like you have a plan and you know what you want to say. It's almost like when you are in all these communications, you feel like it's like a game changer, because I really think in general, being the person who stutters, when we were in a communication or a conversation, we always have a lower hand. It's like we wait words came to us. It's like our communication is more like a reaction or respond, right?
Yes.
It's like, oh, like how I will talk today depends on maybe the people who I'm talking to. If this person is more intimidating, like my stutter will be worse.
Right.
Or it's like we do think that the person who we talk with in general, they have an upper hand because of our stuttering. But when you are doing those practice, it's like, oh, I have a purpose. Like I have my strategies, and I kind of know what's going on. I'm going to say I have a butter, but people does not even know why I'm saying I have a butter, but I know what's going on here.
Yeah.
So you kind of like turn the table around. It's like, oh, I initiate the communication and I know what's going on.
Yeah.
Incredible. So you all figured out all by yourself in this 3 months of quarantine?
Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't say I have it all figured out yet. Well, I mean, I don't know, because like I'm just like I'm still just I do. The main thing I figured out, I guess, like to just rephrase, is that it's okay to experiment, I guess. Like I just have a more experimental attitude towards life in general.
Yeah, look for embarrassment.
Yeah.
Because you found that YouTube video, people are doing silly things and people are watching them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, like it actually inspired me when one of my plans for after quarantine, or like in the next few years or so, is to start making YouTube videos myself. And like I thought, because one of the things in these videos that they seem to lack is like real conversations. And I do, because one of the things I've always been passionate about is how to get people to really connect with each other and like talk about the things that they actually care about. And you'll find channels on YouTube, like there's a lot of sort of social politics channels, but they have an agenda. So like they'll go up to people on college campuses and just try to make them look stupid for like having a certain political opinion or something. But then what I want to do is one category of videos, I guess, is to just show like how easy it is to just like have just a normal conversation, I guess. I'm not even sure how to describe it, but then at the same time, I want to have, I guess, quote unquote, deeper conversations with just complete strangers, since I found how easy it is actually to do that online. And so I thought, okay, I mean, it shouldn't be that different in person. It's just that no one tries. Like, no one approaches people on a park bench and just asks like, what things are you struggling with this year? Or just, things like that. And I mean, that probably wouldn't be a thing to post on YouTube, but to like inspire people to like have these kinds of conversations in real life. Because
that's so awesome. I do think this really will be a good place where we end our conversation. Oh my God, it's like over an hour. So yeah, I really think because like we struggled with the words, so we kind of see the value of the words. So when you were saying you want to connect to people and you want people to have deeper connections, I think this really aligns with us, because like we people who stutter, we don't talk BS, you know. It's like words are very valuable to us. It's very hard earned. We don't just like waste it.
Definitely.
Well, I do think today it's a deep conversation without the quotation marks. So yeah, thank you so much, Allen. And at the end of the podcast, do you have something more you want to say at the end?
Just thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed being on here. So.
Yeah, thank you so much, Allen, and I wish you have a good night.